And Robert Hooke was studying the cork tissues, and while studying the cork tissues, he could able to observe the compartments, and those compartments he could able to recognize as a partition wall, which is called as a cell wall. And those cell walls, okay, it is not visible, screen is not visible now. Okay, to me it is not visible. Okay, so thereby we could able to observe this cell wall as a structure which is a boundary for an individual cell. And actually what the cell wall is a thick, rigid, non-living, semi-elastic layer, and which is mainly composed of the matrix and the fibrils, microfibrils. Cell walls are generally seen in all the plant cells, fungal cells, and generally absent in the animal cells. And thereby we could able to observe this cell wall is a specialized structure only in the plant cells. And its thickness of the cell wall varies. In general, it is of 0.1 to 10 millimicrons in thickness. The cell wall is very thin in meristematic tissues as well as parenchyma cells, because you know that meristematic tissues are yet to differentiate, and just divided cells develop with a thin cell wall. After differentiation, the cell wall goes on thickening, and the maximum thickening we can see in the xylem vessels. The maximum thickness of the cell wall is observed in xylem vessels. And what chemically this cell wall is composed of? The cell wall is composed of mainly, as I told you, it is composed of a matrix. What this matrix? It is a gel-like ground substance, which is generally consisting of water, hemicellulose, glycoproteins, lipids. All these makes a gel-like substance. And within this gel-like substance, these cellulosic microfibrils are present. Means the chemical present in the cell wall is a cellulose. Cellulose occurs in the form of a thin microfibrils, and they are embedded in this matrix. And this cell wall also contains a lignin, a chemical that is particularly for a hardness. You know that in sclerenchyma tissue and the xylem cells, wall is made up of lignin. Or they may be deposited with the pectin, like in collenchyma. Or there is a deposition of suberin. That is, suberin deposition is mainly for impermeability. So thereby we can say there is a specific chemical substance in the plant cells. But in the fungi, the wall material is chitin, which is also called as a fungal cellulose. And in bacteria, there is a cell wall, which is chemically called as a peptidoglycan, or it is called as a murine or muric acid. So that is what the chemical composition that we can see in the cell wall. Now let us discuss about the structure. What structurally the cell wall is. The cell wall we can able to observe, it determines the architecture, and it also controls the functioning of the cell. Means the specific shape, structure is given by the cell wall, because cell wall is a rigid layer, outermost boundary, outermost coating. And where you can see in this diagram, this is the cell wall. And typical cell wall is composed of about 3-4 layers. And where we can able to observe these 3-4 layers, we can designate as the middle lamella. Okay, we can see this central layer. This is the middle lamella. You can see here, this is the middle lamella. So thereby we could able to observe this middle lamella which is present as outermost layer. Then it is deposited with a primary wall. This is the primary wall that we can see. And inner to the primary wall, there is a secondary wall. This we can see, this is the secondary wall. So this is the diagram of a matured cell, and this is the diagram of a young cell, immature cell. And in an immature cell, we can see only these primary layers, primary cell wall. But in mature layer, we can see a thick secondary wall layers. So thereby outermost is a middle lamella, followed by the primary cell wall, and then there is a secondary cell wall. And occasionally there is a tertiary cell wall. Occasionally. So now let us study what this middle lamella. It is cementing layer between the two adjacent cells. You can say this is the middle lamella. This is the primary layer of the adjacent cell, and this is the primary layer of this entire cell. So thereby two cells are cemented by this middle lamella, and the middle lamella is absent on the surface of the cell which are free. If the cell surface is free, then the middle lamella is absent. That's why it is a cementing layer between the two cells, between the adjacent cells. And also this middle lamella is not well developed in the region of plasmodesmata. And you know that what is that plasmodesmata? It is a region of cytoplasmic connections with the adjacent cells. And in that region also middle lamella is absent. What chemical it is composed of? It is chemically composed of pectin. That is calcium and magnesium pectate. And we know that fruits after maturing, ripening, become softened. Or the fibers retting process, you know that fibers are extracted from the plant parts, jute fibers and all, you know that. They are extracted or separated. And that process is called as fiber set retting. And this is nothing but a process of dissolution of this middle lamella. If the middle lamella is dissolved, the fruit also becomes softened and the fibers are also get separated. So that is what the middle lamella structurally see. Then coming to the primary wall. Now what is this primary wall? It is a wall which has been formed in the cell nearer to this middle lamella or inner to the middle lamella. Primary wall is actually thin, only 0.1 to 3 millimicrons in thickness. And it is capable of extension, stretching. It is capable of stretching. But its thickness also increases with the growth of the plant cells. So in a young cell, it is very thin. And with the growth of the plant, we can able to observe it is gradually increasing. The wall material is generally deposited into the existing primary wall. So that is from internally. So new chemicals are added internally over this primary wall layers. And cells engaged with the active cell division, photosynthesis, respiration, and secretion. They are generally having only this primary wall. Only primary wall. It doesn't have a secondary wall. So coming to the secondary wall, it is deposited inner to the primary wall. So this is the primary wall and this is the heavy, thick secondary wall. You can see this black color. And it is deposited inner to the primary wall. And particularly in a fully matured cell and the non-dividing cells. That's most important. It is generally seen in parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, tracheids, vessels. And basically, the secondary wall grows by accretion. Grows by accretion means it is grows by the deposition of layers, one after the other. And usually there is a three layers which has been formed of cell wall. And those three layers are designated as S1, S2, and S3. And where S1 is inner to the primary wall, S2 is the middle layer of the secondary wall and which is much thicker. And S3 is the innermost layer of a secondary wall. So this deposition of this secondary wall layers varies. In particularly, we can able to observe these xylem vessels. or we can say this, it is deposited in an uneven manner. And that's why the secondary thickenings develops either annular thickening, spiral thickening, scalariform thickening, reticulate thickening, or pitted nature of the wall that you have studied. So the xylem vessels, the xylem fibers, they show this uneven wall thickness because of uneven deposition of this secondary wall layers. So now this is what the structure of a typical cell wall. Now let us discuss about the ultrastructure. So with regard to the ultrastructure, we can able to observe the primary wall and the secondary wall have the same basic thickness. They have a same basic thickness and same structure, ultrastructure. Both cases, the cellulose microfibrils are embedded in the matrix. And as we have discussed, cellulose is the chief constituent of the plant cell. Cellulose is the chief constituent of the cell wall. And each cellulose chain consists of about 2000 to 25,000 glucose units. This is the glucose molecule you can see. They occurs in the form of a chain. And each cellulose chain is made up of about 2000 to 25,000 glucose units. And about nearly 100 such chains, cellulose chains, arranged parallelly and results in the formation of a minute bundle, and that is called as a micelle. So this is the glucose, and this is complete cellulose chain which has been formed of glucose. And this cellulose chain is composed into bundle of fibers which is called as micelle and about 1 nm thickness. That is why micelle is the smallest structural unit of a cell wall. Micelle is considered as the smallest structural unit of a cell wall. About 20 to 40 such micelle assembles in the matrix to form a microfibril that forms the microfibrils. These microfibrils are synthesized on the plasma membrane by protein complexes. Later what happens, about 250 microfibrils, such 250 microfibrils aggregate and forms a bigger bundles called as macrofibrils. You can see these lines, you can observe these are microfibrils, and about such 250 microfibrils together makes a one bundle, and that is called as a macrofibrils. A typical cotton fiber, you know, that the thickest one, the cotton fiber, has 1500 macrofibrils. Then you can imagine how structurally it is complex this cell wall is. A typical cotton fiber cell wall will have about 1500 such macrofibrils. Each macrofibril will have about 250 microfibrils, and each microfibril will have about 20 to 40 such micelle, and each micelle is having about aggregation of 100 cellulose chain, and each cellulose chain may have about 2000 to 25,000 glucose units. So that is what the actual complexity of the ultrastructure of this cell wall. In secondary walls, microfibrils are long, straight, close, and more parallelly arranged compared to primary wall. So these microfibrils which are there, these are synthesized around the plasma membrane, as I told you, by a protein complexes. And this matrix contains a glycoprotein called expansin, which is called as a expansin. That is the actual matrix which is present. And then we can able to observe the structure which is here, where already we have discussed this secondary wall layer deposition is in an uneven manner, which results in the formation of an uneven thickening of the wall. And based on that uneven thickening design, it has been classified into either annular or it is into uh, typical spiral form, or it may be scalary form, or it may be reticulate form, or maybe pitted form. But the cell walls are having a special pit structure, the special pit structure. You can see where we can able to observe this is the central region, and this is the wall which we can see. This is the secondary wall, and this is the primary wall, the black color we can see. And also we can see that pits which are present on this cell wall. You can see that this is the pit, and this is the middle lamella. This is the structure. And where we can see this pit portion is enlarged. Pit portion is enlarged. Where you can able to observe this is the middle lamellae. We can see this. This is the middle lamellae, and this is the secondary wall. Okay, primary wall will be here, very thin, and this is the secondary wall. And these walls will developing a pits, and these pits are nothing but the depressions in the secondary wall. You can see, imagine this is the secondary wall layer which ends here, and in this side also it ends, and here is the pit which is a depression. If you observe it from the surface, we can able to observe such depressions here, and that is called as the pits. And the pit is actually developed by this secondary wall. And this pit membrane, you can see this is considered as a pit membrane here, which is nothing but an extension of this middle lamella portion, composed of primary walls and a middle lamellae. That is the pit membrane. That is called as a pit membrane. And this pit aperture is an opening. It is an opening that communicates with the pit chamber. You can, this is pit chamber, and this is the pit aperture. And in this diagram also you can see this is the pit aperture, and this is the pit chamber. Okay, pit aperture is an opening that communicates with the pit chamber on the interior side. And this pit membrane is permeable. Already, as I told you, it is made up of a cell membrane. Always we can able to observe pits of the adjacent cells usually occurs in the opposite side. So you can say this is the pit of this cell and this is the pit of the adjacent cell. They placed in an opposite manner, and thereby they result in the formation of a pit pair. These two are called as a pit pair. This is the pit of adjacent cell, and this is the pit of another adjacent. So they are making the pit pairs. A pit present on the free surface of the cell without its corresponding partner. Sometimes what happens, the cell, one of the cell may have a pit, and this cell may not have a pit which has been overlapped. Then that pit is called as a blind pit. It's a blind pit. And these pits, on the basis of their shape of a pit chamber, on the basis of a shape of a pit chamber, pits are either called as simple pits or bordered pits. So when you look at this from the surface, this is a sectional view of the cell wall, remember. And if you look at from the cell wall from the surface, then you can able to observe one round pit which we can able to observe, and that is considered to be as simple pit. But here we can see actual pit is here in this, and the pit is bordered here, another marking, and that's why it's called as a bordered pit. In the simple pit, the pit chamber which is there, it is uniform. You can see this. Look at the thickness of this cell wall around the pit chamber, and they are of even thickness, uniform in their width, and that's why appears as a one ring on the surface view. So you can see this extended line. You can see that is, if you observe this from the surface, here you can able to observe there's a one ring appears to be on the surface. But in bordered pit, what happens? The pit chamber becomes a flask shape. You can see this is the pit aperture. You can see this is the pit aperture and this is the pit chamber. And it gets the shape of a flask. Shape of a flask. With a narrow pit aperture. So this pit aperture is bit narrow. And from the surface view, it appears to be as bordered. Because this bordered line which appears, it is the edge of this pit chamber here. This is the edge of a pit chamber, and this pit chamber from the surface appears to be like a border, and that's why it is called as a bordered pit. Sometimes the pit membrane bearing certain disc-like swelling. It is not there in this diagram, and in this region here, in this region, there will be small disc-like structure. Appears to be like a this pit membrane is thicker, like a disc, and that is called as a torus. And such pit is called as aspired pit. And as the cell is growing in size, the primary wall develops a hole. At some places, due to stretching, as the cell wall is growing in size, there is a stretching, and because of the stretching, there is a hole development in the primary wall, and through which plasmodesmata communicate with the adjacent cells. So that is what plasmodesmata. What is plasmodesmata? Plasmodesmata is a plural term. Plasmodesma is a singular term. Okay. These are fine protoplasmic channels that connects the protoplasm of the adjacent plant cells with the adjacent plant cells. And this is seen, as I told you, in this region there is no deposition of this middle lamella also. Only this cytoplasmic membrane, plasma membrane, stretches and opens up into a small pore, and through which cytoplasms are connected with the adjacent cells. And this plasmodesmata was studied by Strasburger initially. And these are generally number is depending on the types of cells. Generally, they are in large numbers, abundant. And thereby what happens? They are connected to the adjacent cells. Then what is the role of this plasmodesmata? Plasmodesmata mainly helps in transfer of nutrients and also other materials with the adjacent cells. So thereby what happens? The entire protoplasm from one cell to the another cell is interconnected. And thereby protoplasm makes a continuity from one end of the plant body to the another end of the plant body. And that is called a symplast. Sim means fuse, plast, protoplast. Symplast. So because of the presence of plasmodesmata, there is a cytoplasmic connections with the adjacent cells, and this continuity will go from one end of the cell plant body to the another. And that entire protoplasmic continuum is called as a symplast. And another most important feature is this plasmodesmatal connections also helps in passing the stimulus signals from one cell to the another cell. But we can able to observe such plasmodesmatal connections are seen in the plant virus like TMV, which synthesizes the protein, which is called as P30, if you recall the first time you have studied. And this P30 protein nullifies the normal mechanism of plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmatal connection mechanism is controlled. And also TMV enlarges enlarges the plasmodesmata in order to pass it from one cell to the another cell. So TMV, that is tobacco mosaic virus, when he is making the infection over the tobacco plant, it can increase the size of these plasmodesmata in the tobacco plant cells, and thereby they can pass from one cell to the another cell easily. So that is what the plasmodesmata works in a plant cell. Now let us come to the functions of the cell. Okay, it's not working. What are the functions of the cell wall? It provides a definite shape, and as you know that it is the outermost boundary, and thereby we could able to observe this is making a proper rigidity to the cell, gives a proper rigidity to the cell, and gives the specific shape. And also it protects the cell from mechanical injury, and also it results in the protection from pathogens. And another most important feature is this is preventing the osmotic bursting of the cell. That means you know that when there is a osmosis, the plant cells absorbing more and more water, and because of that we could able to observe there is a chance for bursting of the cell, but it is not allowing, the cell wall is not allowing because of rigidity, which is exerting a wall pressure in the opposite direction. Then we can see this adjacent cells, adjacent cell walls throughout the plant body constitutes the apoplast. You have studied in a fourth semester symplast and the apoplast. Protoplasmic connections in the entire plant body through the plasmodesmata makes a symplast. But adjacent cell walls throughout the plant body constitutes a apoplast. The plasmodesmata in cell walls form the system of interconnection with the adjacent cells, interconnection with the protoplast of the adjacent cells. Then sometimes we know that the cell wall is also deposited with the cutin, which results as a cuticle layer. And also cell wall is deposited with the severin. And this deposition of the cuticle and severin helps in checking the water loss. Okay, so that is what the future that we can see. And also we can see phycocolloids. That's the water holding substances. These are extracted from the cell wall of marine algae. That is like algin from brown algae, agar from red algae, and corallin from red algae. And these are commercially useful. And you know that the value of agar and algin and all. So that is extracted from these algal members, and which is nothing but a cell wall material. So that is what the function of a typical cell wall. Okay. So let me to finish here. We will continue in the next class.